Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hamster's Hobby Hang. Thanks for being patient with me. Throw on some tunage here. Again, I'm trying to find a new playlist. I love our artist that Chris knows, but we've been listening to that for 4 years of streaming on here, so I hope this doesn't flag the VODs. Chris, I'm sure will let me know. Oh, okay. For some reason, when that drop just happened, I don't know if you can hear it very well. I had a moment of nostalgia for the roller rink. Do you get it? Do you kind of hear that? Where it's sort of just like the dance-esque song, but you don't know what it is. It's a roller rink kind of song. Middle school field trip. All right, I'm in. This is our playlist now. Do you guys want the worst bean ever? All 15 of you? This was from work from home today. This is my bean. This was from work from home today. How's that? Smack dab in the middle of the mat. I don't know if that's fun or infuriating, but I just saw that on the screen and I was like, well, that's something. C's for C's for modular ships. No. Oh great. I shouldn't have said that out loud. Now you can clip it before I say that that's not happening. You can just hear me saying it. Oh, I didn't see OTA this week, so I forget. I don't know what they showed, but the fact that there are things being painted means they've been sculpted. Interestingly, in this case, that's actually not super true. So, just to throw more confusion into the mix. Bree Twitch. Well, first of all, welcome to the stream. Welcome to Warhammer. I'm a lifelong Warhammer hobbyist. What I would suggest is joining the Discord, and you can get you can post some photos in the artist alley or share your minis, and you can get tons of feedback. There's tons of great hobbyists and great friendly people to get some feedback on. If you tag me at Hamster, then I will see it as well, and I can take a peek at it. But I don't look at my phone on here, so I'll look at it after the stream. Can't stand painting wood anymore, currently on tons of corner posts. I hear ya, because I also did that for Lowtown only a year ago. It was a brown nightmare. I don't ever want to say that again. I don't know what other examples of a brown nightmare come to your imagination when I say that, but it's not good in mine. I got in late but heard Hamster says he's painting modular ships. Oh god, okay. We're gonna have to take this whole VOD down. I only take Hamster on sandwiches. That was a great looking sandwich. You just saw Katie in the background. I even said, someone just tagged me on a sandwich and it looks delicious. Yeah, I remember that. I'm in the happy green place of doing ivy and moss. Ah, yes, a more colorful dream. I have a couple things primed on the side, so we'll see what we get to. But I have these little dudes. They're just like little skelly boys that are in robes with like weapons that are way too big for their little skelly goblinness, and they're kind of fun. These are from a Kickstarter I backed years ago. I think the studio was called Nightmare Games with a K. And they had these like undead vulture things, and these guys were riding on their backs. So not only do you have this giant unwieldy metal undead vulture zombie on your miniature, but then these guys are on their backs with their enormous weapons. But I figured I'm just gonna put them on a base and like sculpt over the flat part. I'm not great at sculpting and converting, but I was just gonna sculpt some texture where these are supposed to be glued onto or pinned onto, whatever, and then I'll get, you know, some extra miniatures out of it. So, because these are fun little guys. Like, I love that this guy just found a scythe bigger than itself and just picked it up, and it's like, yeah, that's mine now. Doing some LARP prep. As it seems you often are, Finley. I say that fondly. That's awesome. Priming and painting random 3D printed sci-fi scatter and some home crafted stuff too. Awesome. You know what? A little bit ago, I worked together with Aaron and Miles for like some random, like really, really early prototypes just to kind of pitch a thing. And I just went to classic, like cutting apart foam, the pink foam. And that was kind of fun. Because it just felt super old school, you know? That reminds me, my buddy just made I think it's 2x2, a trench board, and he's playing Quar. If you've heard of these Quar miniatures, there's like a whole lore and game for them now. But the trenches are just foam cut into, you know, shapes, not even organic shapes, because they're like man-made trenches, right? So they're really geometric kind of shapes. The classic cardboard, peeling off one layer of the cardboard to get the irrigated, or what is it, corrugated part, put that on the side of as the trench walls, and then texture all the earth section, and it looks awesome. Using random plastic waste springs from pens, scraps of foam, and metal. I love the sound of that. That sounds like I'm trying to paint, eventually I have this idea. I have way too many models for it before I even have completed the idea. But it's Sisters of Battle for 40k. But they're cyberpunk. That's the baseline. That was the main idea. And so I just have done these DIY like city bases using like zip ties where there's like the ridgy texture and then like plastic card and cutting stuff out in random bits, and that's a lot of fun to just like kind of make curbs and sidewalks and grates out of just random stuff. But anyway, the lore behind that sect, I guess, of Sisters of Battle is that they're like a defector class, so like they're actually not fighting for the Imperium anymore. In like the 9th edition codex, in the very front, Dolly, no. There was one little story about these Adeptus Sororitas that were on this planet far, far away, right, from like the main collection of humanity. And this guy showed up, if we forget even who it was, but he was like, "Oh, I'm the Emperor." They're like, "What? No, prove it." And he had like a psyker shield. And he's like, "Yeah, my buddy's gonna shoot me." Pew! Gets deflected by the shield. They're like, "Holy crap, this is the Emperor." And I don't remember the details. I just remember the most important part to me was like, oh, these people can be duped, right? So the lore behind my homebrew class of these Sisters of Battle is that they don't think the Emperor is the Emperor. They think they're still looking for the Emperor. So they have completely separated from like the Imperium, and it's just a hodgepodge of zealots that have been like led into this cult basically that thinks the Emperor is false. And so I honestly just like want to paint them all different, just to paint cool cyberpunk Sisters of Battle, and then make them an army. Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you joined the Discord. I will try to remember to take a look at it tonight. Yeah, Army of Rejects, right. I want like my Celestine just because I love that model. She has like the wings, right? Somehow I want to make it where like it kind of looks like the wings are like a suit element that you put on. And basically the idea would be each battle, one of the sisters like thinks that they're a saint, and that can only be proven by them like surviving the battle. And so they put on, it's kind of like Mad Max style, like they put on the wingsuit and they're like, hell yeah, dude, I'm gonna go ham in this battle. And then they like charge in and most of them die, and then another sister like puts it on, so it's like a different person every time. But there's like a legacy of like how long is the longest that someone has lasted, and they're like worshipped as a saint. I was gonna paint Low Time where there's a US soccer game, so that's where I'm at mentally. Alright. Have fun. However, you like on Thursday evenings, that's what this is for. This time slot is fun zone only. Who did I met someone briefly on a US soccer team. It's like my partner at the time, their coworker's fiance. There was some social event that was on Zoom during like the COVID lockdown. I think their last name is Long, and they were at one point on like the Red Bull like New York team or something. We gotta look this guy up. See if I can remember. I don't know if that rings any bells for you, but Aaron Long, yeah. That's who it was. I was briefly on a Zoom social hour with that guy. Yes. Like 5 years ago now or something. Okay. Look at this palette. I did like my parchment paper, and I was just really bad at like making the right size. This is like when you run out of wrapping paper and you just have to like cover most of the box. This is a patch job palette. Dolly, I gotta start painting. You gotta go be comfortable in your bed, okay? Star Wars Legion Fleet Troopers. I have quite a few of those miniatures, but I've never gotten to play. I got like a starter set with like Vader and Luke because obviously, right? Like, how could you not? I actually got a second one of those because we wanted to bring them to a convention, but like have it be more populated. And that was like the best way to get a good amount of miniatures, like a bunch of the stormtroopers and stuff, right? I think I have a couple other things in my random stash too, but I've never gotten to play. There was briefly a scene in my local game store community, but I think they've kind of fallen off. They're like playing Fallout and stuff now, like Wasteland Warfare. Yeah, Chris picked up some Fallout last Adepticon. And they're sitting unprimed, but he built them. We want to try it out eventually, but Savalong, I just mixed some white into, where'd it go? This color. This is something new I'm trying. Like, I've seen a lot of canvas painters start with like a kind of golden orange brown base. What I'll say is this is really glossy. Like, you can even see it on the sample. This is like the real paint on the label. So I have this matte medium, of which I need maybe a fourth of this in my lifetime. This thing is enormous, but just mixing some matte into it. So you can see I'm trying, these are the same color, but this was over like kind of a slap chop white zenithal, and this was just over black, just to like see how it works. It adds some life to it. On these ones, I've painted some of them that started with this, and what I liked is that it was quicker to get opacity on some stubborn colors over a color like this than it was over black. Then the idea being like acrylic always has some slight transparency, so like you might not like notice like, oh, there's orange brown under that, but your eye will pick up on like some warmth as you go. Bree, did you just find this stream randomly, or are you familiar with Dwarven Forge? Yeah. These are the skellies I've done. I'm really happy with them that I've done recently. These are probably my favorite skeletons. They're from Die Hard Miniatures. And I just like doing flashy, non-metallic, like not even like realistic, just like really stylized. So these are a great opportunity to do that. I sent this one to my friend and I was like, do not ask why the armor is both grimy and also the most reflective armor you've ever seen in your life. The answer is, you're stabbed. Oh good, I'm glad. I don't know if this helped at all, but I started putting painting miniatures into the title in case someone is like searching for it on text. So anyway, Dwarven Forge is where I work. We make gaming terrain. Primarily started with like RPG builds and stuff. I'm kind of the resident wargamer, so we're kind of trying to push some sets to be more wargame focused for your Warhammer games and stuff. I'm a big Age of Sigmar player. So that's kind of how I got picked up for Dwarven Forge. But like lifelong collector of like fantasy battles, 40k, and all that. I'm playing a lot of Sigmar now, mostly, but Yeah, it's good to have you. I haven't seen like a brand new person in a while, so it's fun to have you. Definitely, the Discord is super active, so if you just want to post miniatures in there, um, please continue to do so because there's a lot of great painters and friendly folks in there. Rave going on in here? Yeah, I don't know. This is a new playlist that I'm trying that is like royalty free, so it is very kind of dance heavy. Yeah, I don't know if it's the vibe, but I said last time, like, I tried, there's an app specifically for streaming that's like, this music is royalty free and you can choose kind of genres and styles. And then I did that on a stream and Chris said, hey, the stream got flagged for copyright last night. I was like, what the heck? So anyway, I'm trying to like do some other stuff. Hold on, royalty free ukulele type beat. Oh, that's just one song. We're not going to listen to that song on repeat. Chill royalty free. Okay, let's try that. There's trolls that purposely target the royalty free. Dude, get a life, right? What the heck? Put some pics of my scrap work on the Discord. Awesome. Yeah, definitely tag me. There's so much going on there that I don't have like, I don't get notifications for every single message, but I do have mentions on. So if you do add Hamster, I will see it. Yeah, I mean, I personally love lo-fi, but I think some of it is under label. So I don't want it to get flagged just because this is the Dwarven Forge channel, not my own. So I don't want it to get like banned for something I did. Like, I listen to, most of the time riding the subway out here in New York, I mostly just listen to like the Lo-Fi Girl playlist. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It kind of like went viral of just like having random indie lo-fi beats to the point that that's a label now. They got so big that they created a record label for lo-fi. Okay, well, if you're in another stream that does it, maybe that would be good. That's mostly what I work to and what I like commute to. I don't like listen to a lot of it. I don't know. I just kind of like the vibes and I zone out. I was painting two of you. What happened to you? Oh yeah, I'm sure something like lo-fi would definitely be tempting for like random AI randomization or whatever. I'm gonna try to start with like a slap chop sort of style thing before we go. Normally on this stream you see me like layer up kind of traditionally, but I'm just gonna try something new and see if we can get any extra stuff done. Just because I did bring these home for some gameage. I have some solo games I want to try. 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, Rangers of Shadow Deep. That type of thing. I don't know, whenever I've tried to do sort of the straight slab chop, I get sort of get finicky and bogged down by like the details, so I end up covering everything up anyway, but maybe we can avoid that this time. We'll see. Oh yeah, Brie, that does sound like it'd be relaxing and a sort of maybe emotionally vulnerable environment. Okay. Is there a supplement? I've never played the game, so I'm kind of new to it. I have played 5. Actually, I think we have a video on the YouTube channel about this. We've played 5 parsecs, which was very fun. I think I want to use some of these guys, these little raider guys, for something like that. As well as for, I have this little Osprey book. Zona Alpha. It's like Escape from Tarkov, the video game, as a miniatures game. So those little raiders might be good for like enemies or crew or whatever, right? So I figured might be kind of neat. Just trying to get a little life under here, just so that hopefully I avoid over fiddling, but maybe I will anyway. And we will see the process. Because I am a fiddler. I just remember that I bought electric drums I need to figure out how to play. You forgot? That's like when I buy a random lot of another Warhammer army, I'm like, oh right, I have that. I have inks, but I mostly use them for clear pieces. Watching your streams made me want to try some different techniques. Yeah, I actually brought these home recently to try and hobby hang because I've had them in a drawer and like don't use them very much. I like them best for glazing to get saturation. So it's kind of a final step to make the colors sort of pop. So for instance, and you can use them like contrast paint too, right? They're just like, you gotta kind of have an idea in your mind for using these two properties. They're highly saturated and they're transparent. So that's similar to contrast paint, but they're maybe a little runnier than some contrast paint. But so I like to use them for glazing, especially as a final saturation step over classic layering. So for instance, this skelly was painted years ago just with like my layering matte paints, and then this one is similar with like inks, right? So it's kind of the difference for me, the way I use them. Like I still like this miniature a lot. There's a lot of cool color stuff going on, but this has more like kind of poppy saturation in the colors. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, the shield specifically. Like the shield like had some layering, but all I did here was like I I had a little like color in the base coat just because I was throwing paint around. But then there's some texture sculpted, but I just kind of drew some thin white lines down to dark. And so like up here is the white drawing lines kind of. And then just like did some really fast glazing with the inks. There's like one or two hobby, it was like 2 hobby hangs ago maybe. The last like 30 seconds you see me, I forgot that I did some of the drawn lines. And I was like, oh, shoot. Okay, let me just take 10 seconds to take some inks and color the back of this. So maybe look out for that. Another example is these two. I really like, but I didn't have my inks home with me for hobby hang. This is the first one I had inks. Do you kind of see the difference? So all I did was this same similar layering process, but then glaze it with some saturation afterward. So like this brownish, especially the mid shadows. Nearly a minute here, need to run. All right, thanks for hanging out and saying hi. The green especially. Like this was kind of like this type of green with a yellowish highlight that I hit it with an ink. Did this same yellow. Hit it with an ink. Right here. Right, so that's kind of what I use them for generally. And then almost the reverse, what I'm doing here is, okay, we're kind of doing like the black and white slap chop, but let's throw some saturation in the shadows so when we layer something on top, maybe some of it stays behind and adds a little something, right? So stuff like this, like, it's all gonna get covered up mostly. But I just like to do it just to have it there in case, and I may or may not use it as I go. Ooh, Stormcast. I'll have to look at the Stormcast. I love my Stormcast scheme. Actually, my box is right here. It's under a bunch of stuff, so maybe I won't grab it. But it's on my Instagram if you want to. I kind of did like sunset colors, and I did doing like clouds for the bases, like they're dropping in from the sky in like a puff of cloud. Brown primer, no, it's these ones. Here's the thing, all of these I did differently. These two I just did black, I think. Pretty sure at least one of these was just black. This one started like this. And you can see almost none of it's left behind, but this kind of helped with my opacity in my base coats. And so this is just basically a black and white glazed with a color like this. You don't have to use this brand. In fact, this brand is really glossy, so be careful. But it's just this type of color. Just to try it out. I was saying earlier, I saw some canvas painters starting their canvases this way, adding some warmth. It all gets covered up, but it just adds some warmth and life over the acrylic steps that always have a slight transparency, so I thought I'd try it out. Alliance colors from World of Warcraft, like the blue and stuff. Let's see. Here's a good shot of the army scheme plus the dragon. My Stormcast dragon. That I really like. Really fast, so for a gaming army, I'm really happy with it. Because if you look close, there's not a lot of painted details or definition even, but it's really flashy, and I can get new units done to play with really quickly. Yeah, blue and gold classic. Love this. Love that combo. Yeah, my buddy that I have like a hobby chat with also said that this shield looks awesome. And I'll tell you what, this was not precise or thought out. It was just I did a gradient of light to dark, literally with like white and basically black. Maybe there was colors on the dark brown. And then I just had random inks on my palette and I slapped them on there. And it looks really cool because it's varied and weathered, right? And like has interesting different variations. But like that's kind of the power of inks, is like I just kind of slapped them around and it was magic. Thank you. I do love the scheme. I played a tournament at my local game store a week or two ago and I went 0-3. So at least they look immaculate. So thank you. No, my community, and I love this, has incredible cutthroat players, like tournament grinders, all incredible players and fun opponents, I should say. Very nice people. But we have like the cream of the crop event gamers at my local store, which I love because I love the game. So I want to learn. But I certainly learned last tournament. I mean, I made a list that was really elite and I had like 6 units only. So maybe I'm not quite like finessed enough to pilot that, but it was still a very fun day. It was actually my birthday. So it was fun that the monthly tournament ended up on my birthday. I know I'm kind of lollygagging, but I want to make sure before I start that these are completely dry. Otherwise, we're going to pull them off. But we'll get started soon. Thank you. I'm still muted. I thought I clicked it off. I was just saying, painting that army of Stormcast was a really fun process because it's like fairly fast, but it's really flashy. And it just changed my life when I told myself that I don't need to paint my armies to the highest standard and to separate projects in my mind of like, so I'm getting frustrated because I want to game with all these options, but they're taking too long. And so I was like, okay, pay attention to that and don't do it to that standard then. Because I have all kinds of display models, like the large scale and stuff. It's like, if you want to go hard on the painting, do that. But I've had so much more fun army painting when I'm like, this will look great on the table. I mean, lots of people have talked about this, but I'm just saying, before you start, have it in your mind. This is what's helped me. Of like, I'm going to do those steps to get them to this level. And then when you look at it and you're like, oh, I wish I could do that. Maybe you do pick out, a certain thing, but you're not sitting there like, oh, I wish I just did this. And then you just fiddle forever. You don't want to fiddle forever with gaming stuff, which is a trap. Basically, I constantly just have to go back and forth and tell me manifesting magic. Yeah, exactly. Because if this is actually a common practice in my brain. I just have to be like, no, stop, move on. Because I get really fixated. Even at Dwarven Forge, I have to go back with when I'm batch painting prototypes. I'm like, nope, no one's gonna see it. Next piece. Otherwise you get bogged down. So that's like what my inner life is like when I'm painting. It's like, oh, that looks really cool. Maybe if I just stop it. Alright. So I have more of these inks. Not entirely sure like what I want to do with them. I was gonna do this on here. Like I said, this is normally like the sort of top-down style. It's like not the way I normally like to paint. But I'm just trying something new. We painted a lot of these little undead guys, so I'm just trying it out. Like, actually, when the contrast paint stuff started coming out, I was not a fan. Not because I think they're bad. Like, people were asking me, are these good for new painters? And I was like, look, they won't teach you how to paint other than with contrast style paints, which I still think is true. And so I was frustrated because I was learning a new tool. But they are good for beginners because you can start to get satisfying looking minis fairly quickly, which will like boost your motivation, But I've come around on their uses, especially for armies. I was just used to painting a certain way, Yeah, that's true. You gotta let the work motivate you and inspire you. But that's why I like, a lot of times I'll have multiple projects going at once. One is more sort of speed paint gaming focused, and one is a little more display or sort of hardcore painting focused, so if I'm not feeling one, I just switch it up. Yeah, I think kind of cleaning and troubleshooting and like preventing the airbrush from clogging is like, it was one of the biggest learning curves for me. Um, I've gotten pretty good at like my dilution, so like I'm not cleaning it a lot actually. But that took me like years. It took me like a year or two of using it to really nail that. And I've clogged a lot of airbrushes. But like priming and base coating is a huge it's a great way to start airbrushing. Yeah, that's normally what I do in here is like start from dark and layer up. But I figured I'd switch it up. The nice thing about what I do love about starting from dark and just layering up is the control, right? But sometimes it occurs to me like for a gaming thing that's mostly looked at on the table, it's like maybe diminishing returns because the stuff that you're really picking at, it's that being fiddly thing again of like painting that way. I have a habit of getting fiddlier when I'm painting that way. So here at least I'm throwing some colors around and there's variants that I didn't control but I can use as a starting point. So basically I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna layer after I slop these up first is kind of my plan. So I'm kind of just throwing stuff around until I'm like, oh, now I can start painting. You know, if that makes any sense. And it is like nice, especially when you're kind of trying to do a single session mini, like when there's paint on everything, even if it's bare bones and sloppy, it's like, okay, we're cooking with gas. You know what I mean? The other thing I'm trying to figure out too, especially for my hobby hang setup at home, which I have a very small desk. I mean, you know, New York City apartment, very tiny. Um, I'm trying to see like what can I do with a limited number of materials. So like, you know, I have a fair amount, but I'm trying to like just basically have these paints and not a whole bunch of pre-mixed. Like most of these are like single or two pigments in paint. So I can mix a lot. Um, and not have much more than that at home. So I might switch out the home like collection, but I'm just kind of testing the waters on doing something a little different with it for now. But basically, what I hope this first initial process does, like a lot of times I start layering and I get really precise and I'm having a lot of fun painting, but then I look at it and I'm like, okay, so what I need to do, I think, to get this how I want it to look is what I've just done, except twice as much. Do you know what I mean? So I'm hoping that this kind of eliminates that first sort of chunk. I was in another screen, but I heard Hamster was being Sir Mix-a-Lot. Yes, I'm trying to limit my tools at home so I can mix a lot. And I was saying, that is to say, I still have a ton of stuff, but I don't want to have much more than this. Otherwise, I'm just going to have a... I worked very hard to declutter my home space, but still be able to, like, hobby hang. And I need to be disciplined about that. So I might switch some of this out, but that's why I'm throwing around these inks right now and seeing, like, if this could be, just as an experiment, if this could be my only collection of miniature painting, like, what could I do with it? But anyway. Surprise visit from my sisters. Take off, but I'll be back. Hey, Bree, thank you so much for hopping in and participating and chatting, and please continue to post in the Discord and stuff. I will try to take a peek this evening at your stuff, but it was a pleasure having you, so enjoy your evening, and we'll see you soon. This stream happens every Thursday. Next week I'm at a convention, but most Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully, yeah, we will see you back here. And we have Wednesday, if you want to learn more about Dwarven Forge, Wednesday from 7 to 9 is sort of the studio update for Dwarven Forge, where it's Nate, he's awesome, he has a mohawk, and Chris is really funny. They go through like studio updates, they're often building with the terrain and stuff. So Wednesday 7 to 9, Thursday 6 to 8 are our streams. So yes, have a great evening, we'll see you later. Yeah, we're at Adepticon next week. Yes, we will see more of Bree. Fantastic, fantastic. All right. Good night. One thing I want to do too, as a practice, I have this bust, and part of me just wants to take a month where I paint this like a few times a week over just a couple hours and just repaint and repaint and repaint and like strip it. Just to kind of study faces and skin tones. I have this one too. Maybe I'll do like different metals on here, different like non-metallic to practice. I just like the idea of having like a couple study pieces that I'm like, look, yes, you know, they're pricey models, but just put these aside for the study pieces and just keep repainting. Because there's so many great materials on here, like practice different textured cloths. Is it rugged? Is it smooth, right? Like, and then skin tones are huge. So I have another sort of head bust that maybe I would practice this on too, but anyway, I just saw that on my desk. I thought listen, I enjoy sports, but I don't like know a lot of names. Okay, I don't like follow religiously. It's one of those things where almost any sport, if you're like, hey, come over, we're gonna watch this game, whatever it is, I will have a great time. I will be excited to go. Even a live sports, we go to Mets games all the time, right? Love it, but I'm not like, I won't even say diehard. I'm not even really that knowledgeable of the players and the coaches and stuff. I mostly am familiar with most games where I can watch them with as far as the rules and stuff. But I wish I could help you more on the names. sports bore me usually. Like, I don't usually look out for them, but if like my home team, like the Minnesota teams, end up in the playoffs or something, it's like, okay, I'll perk up and I'll start paying attention. Like, I had a lot of fun watching the Timberwolves. I haven't watched basketball in many years, but when the Timberwolves, they're kind of on a hot streak the past year or two, with like them building their roster and getting the playoffs, I was like, okay, that was a lot of fun to watch. Sometimes I try to watch the Vikings, but they always do well in like the regular season and then crap the bed at some point. It's really a tradition at this point. But anyway, I'm not super diehard where I'm like, nobody talk to me, it's Sunday, I have to watch. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but normally I'm just like, oh, right, there was a game today, and maybe I'll look up the score or something. These bottles are amazing, but I have to declog some of them because some of them I actually bought used on eBay because there's a really good deal, and they must not have been used for a while but opened, so like that's not a good combination. So I just have to get like a pin or something and poke through the nozzle. Okay. This one's funky. Oh, I got some purple mixed in there. That's not good. He'll be alright.
We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Hey, Wilderness, thank you for the Prime. 38 months. Thank you so much. Alright, so got the contrast going. And just let this dry a little bit and then go back with some inks and see how that works. Alright, that's enough for a silly little robe. bird looks pretty cool. Alright, Moffat. Have a good one. Thanks for hanging. We're almost done here anyway. Little guy with a sword. That guy's fun. I'm excited to do more with this scythe too. With his buddy. Gotta remember to try to clean my natural hair brushes. Usually very bad about this. Well, thank you. I think, you know, once in a while I'll kind of do something over a couple streams, but I kind of like to start and finish something on a stream, you know? Feels complete. Another flashy sword on a skelly. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with like our inking process and then highlighting, but maybe I just have to keep tinkering with it. I mean, great many. We'll be happy to field this on a game or something. But we'll continue experimenting. However, next week, I'll be in Milwaukee for Adepticon, along with Nate and Chris and Mace. So there will be no hobby hang, but be sure to check out the socials and stuff, where I'm sure there will be all kinds of coverage from Adepticon and the booth and everything. It'll be very exciting. So thank you all for hanging. I will see you in a couple weeks then. Hopefully I'll be rested up. We'll come home, lay low, and then by that Thursday, maybe I'll be up and at 'em again. Yes, thank you. I'm sure it'll be a great time. And until next time, y'all. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.